All right, so joining us on the podcast today is George Sabad, VP of Customer Success at SureComp. Really appreciate you coming on today. It's great to have you here. Just to start things off, for any of the audience who doesn't know about SureComp, if you're maybe able to describe a little bit about what you guys do over there, as well as the teams that you manage.
Absolutely. Thanks, Sam, for having me here. Customer Success InsureComp is a trade finance fintech company. We're a software house providing trade finance solutions for both banks and corporates, only those multinational corporates. Basically, our solutions are either for back office trade finance processing for banks or multi-banks platforms connecting banks and corporates to transact to do trade finance business within the system. Overall, we are a global company serving from 7 sites across the globe. So we are very much spread around the globe. And my team is the customer success team, basically department of customer success managers, customer support, professional services, and customer education.
That's great. And so you said obviously you're on the customer success side and you have sites all around the globe. Is that mainly over on the European side or is it over in the US as well?
Actually, we're very much spread all the way from Latin America and also in the US. We also have a site here in Israel and in Germany, a small site in London, in UK, and also sites in Vietnam, Singapore. So we're very much spread. Our customers are also very much spread across the globe. And luckily, throughout my 19 years working with SureComp, I also had the experience of relocating. So I've been living in Sweden, Norway, in Hong Kong, in Thailand, in China, and also in Germany.
So you've been all over then.
Absolutely.
I guess just to start off here, I had a couple questions that I was hoping to ask today. I guess one to start off here is dealing with customer expectations just in the past few years. Is there any customer expectations that you guys deal with right now that maybe would have sounded a little bit unrealistic within the past maybe 5, 10 years, but now doesn't sound unrealistic? And how are you guys adapting to that as AI kind of scales here?
Yeah. So maybe not directly related to AI, but something we do see in our industry. So we are a fintech company. We're serving banks, mostly banks, but also big corporates, but in the finance domain, trade finance domain. What we've seen in the last decade that working with SureComp is basically very much towards moving from an on-prem perpetual license maintenance software, which bigger project, 2 years implementation, complex development, and very high customized solutions towards out of the box, towards off the shelf. And we do see it across the globe, much more in Europe, in Latin America, recently also a little bit in Asia. So banks are now realizing, or big corporates also realizing that those tailored solutions happened in the past, or maybe very much relevant in the past and was providing them this kind of a competitive edge. But nowadays, due to quick turnarounds of employees, due to lack of knowledge, due to even the age of the employees, a lot of veterans are leaving the banks or the corporates, and new joiners are joining with lack of that expertise or that knowledge. Big shift towards more of modernization of SaaS platforms out of the box, off the shelf systems. So we have those solutions. We basically set our systems either on a perpetual or on-prem, but also very much relevant recently on SaaS, big scale or big growth in these areas, which provide all benefits of customer success. Now that we're offering an off-the-shelf solution, we're able to provide customers, although with a very much comprehensive system, but still very much stable and closed in terms of I won't be able to customize it for you, but it's very much configurable, which leads to whole conversation about onboarding, about adoption, and eventually expansion within the platform.
And so traditionally, I know that perpetual licenses before everything went to cloud-based or has shifted to cloud-based more recently. Was your product traditionally perpetual licenses?
That's how we started some 35 years ago with perpetual license systems installed on-prem, very much shifted all of them towards.
And I guess, is that more common, I guess, on like the banking side? Do they expect a perpetuals or is everything shifting now towards those cloud-based subscriptions?
It's shifting. I did mention it's more picking up in Europe, in Latin America, a little bit slower in Asia, but it's shifting. We do see those customers or the banks now adopting cloud solutions and SaaS solutions. Of course, we have to go through all the IT assessment, the due diligence of the systems of cloud solutions and the vendor assessment, which involves all the relevant SOC certificate, ISO certificate, the security discussions and so on. But eventually they are picking up on cloud, they are picking up on SaaS. And with one big benefit, which is eventually the less complexity on managing those systems. So less internal IT teams, less required knowledge from their subject, and even much faster time to market. So they're able to adopt the system much faster and go to the market and start operating, doing trade finance with our products in a much faster pace.
Definitely. If right now, another thing that I talk with a lot about with our podcast guests is different customer experience and customer success metrics. So I guess right now, if you guys had to maybe get rid of one specific dashboard metric tomorrow, what would it be? And is there anything that you would replace it with that you guys are using maybe a little bit more often now on the metric side?
Interesting question. Get rid of something. I think we worked very hard to set everything we have today. Not something immediately can think of right of now. Basically, we're benefits of SaaS, also having the information available to us, customer success managers upfront in terms of usage, in terms of adoption. So we're very much measuring this. We have a very good tools internally that are measuring the adoption and the usage of the customer. That helps structuring the conversations, structuring the QBRs. I'm not sure there's one thing I would let go at this point. No.
Okay. So everything that you guys are using right now is pretty set in stone. Is there any metrics that maybe you did use 5 years ago that just most recently in the past year or two, you guys have added in? I guess that's maybe another way to rephrase it. But I know that, as you mentioned, like with the perpetual licenses and now everything's shifting to that subscription base, was there anything maybe 5, 10 years ago that you were using most that you don't use at all now?
We're not completely not using it anymore, but remember, as we moved away from perpetual to SaaS, not all customers eventually moved to SaaS, and there still are banks or big corporates that would prefer the system to be perpetual with the ability to customize. In my previous role within Surecom, today I'm handling all the SaaS accounts. So as a VP customer success of all the SaaS accounts. But prior to that, my role was in charge of the delivery team. Basically, the teams that are involving project managers, account managers, and developers who were working with the customers to do those big complex projects. And then we had a bunch of KPIs and metrics in regards to development mandates we spent and the quality of the items and system test results and all of those, which are now simply redundant because in the world of SaaS, we get out of the box product developed a solution and we don't need to count those development mandates anymore. We don't need to count quality bugs and so on.
And I guess one thing that I'm curious about now, especially with being in finance and banking, I'm sure that it's a little bit tough to leaders to pull away from the perpetual licensing and having things on-prem, just maybe from a security standpoint. So what's that been like, the shift? Are they leaning into it a little bit more now, or is it still very tough to pull them away?
Tough, but eventually worth it. We are equipped for into it. And as mentioned, we went through the whole process to make ourselves available, like a company that can provide and is entitled to provide solution on cloud, on SaaS, with all the relevant certificates, ISO 27001. So we're very much equipped to all these very demanding expectations from customers, mainly banks, to operate systems on cloud. Do still propose our solutions today for customers who simply are not ready yet to adopt cloud, or in some cases, in some countries, are simply not able to because of local regulations. And then we provide them the solution as
Will on-prem solutions, will that be something that you think is never going to fully go away? Or do you think it's just a matter of time, maybe another 5, 10, 15 years, whatever it is, before everything's completely pushed over?
almost 20 years with TrueComp. I've seen the trend going the other way around and now towards a little bit more SaaS. So in the first, I would say 5, 10 years, I've seen more customers are actually leveraging on this competition and competitive advantage of building a very tailored solution for them, which then differentiate them from the competition. So who would have guessed that they will come back and say, we want now an off-the-shelf system. Trying to think towards the future with AI now and with basically tools are now becoming commodity. And if you will be able to perform the whole process really without UI or with full automation, absolutely, I've seen the perpetual and the license maintenance or on-prem systems going away. Again, like everything, specifically in the world of banks, those very demanding compliance and regulations environment, it will take longer, but absolutely.
So it's almost, if they aren't willing to change, they could almost get left behind in terms of competition.
There are customers or prospects basically approaching us today and saying, in the last couple decades, we've super complicated our processes. We need help. We believe that we will need to shift, they will need to change, and they understand that already.
That makes sense. And I guess just shifting gears here more towards team leadership and remote culture. I know that you mentioned there's 7 sites around the world for you guys. How do you create a sense of momentum in the CX organization that rarely shares a room together? I know that maybe there's some offices, but across time zones, how do you keep that momentum high across your team when they're all spread out across the world?
So true. This was first of all very much was much more relevant in my previous role when I was heading the whole delivery organization, which was across all the sites. We had employees all the way from Singapore to Chile, and was very much hard to build those or to bring all of them together. Eventually, there are smaller groups, and it's important to show up in those groups, and it's important to show leadership and drive the motivation of those different smaller groups. But it's also important to set kind of stretch activities or assignments or tasks that will be able to allow an individual from one side of the world to work also with others. True, most of the time it's a little bit offline, trying to find the exact moment within the day that they can all connect together. It's eventually about working locally, but globally. So sharing the activities within the local team, but sharing the news or sharing or connecting the teams in a global way that everyone feel the belonging and feel the understanding of what the other teams globally are doing.
Would you say more so on virtual meetups outside of like a work environment, or is it also company offsites or different events that you guys hold in person?
No, mostly offsite, mostly actually, sorry, mostly remotely. We do have, we're trying to arrange at least once a year, like a meeting which brings all the people together to one location. This would mainly for sales kickoff or the beginning of the year. But for the project team themselves, we are doing those events locally. But again, management or leadership are joining those events specifically whenever they occur to make sure that each site does not feel like he's not belonging.
Are those sites or SKOs maybe for the sales teams? Would you say they are usually within one location? Where do you guys go for those, or what does that look like on your end for those sales kickoffs?
So really much trying to bring it in Europe so we can bring people from Asia or from towards the center. A couple years it was in Madrid, a couple years before it was in Israel or in London. So really much trying to do it in Europe. This way people travel.
I think that's great. What's one thing that you've maybe stopped doing as a leader that's actually improved your team culture or performance across the team?
Started more delegation, stopped a little bit or less micromanagement. I wouldn't say I was ever a micromanager, but I love to be in the details. And as you grow and when you manage global teams, you have to step away a little bit. I myself started as a developer in the company, so 19 years ago. There were times that I had to stand in front of the pole and take a decision. Am I keep coding or pulling my hands away from code? And then in a project manager or directly managing customers, and then you come to a second crossroad when you need to say, am I pulling my hands from those customers and taking more leadership roles, or still holding customers relationship directly?
I'm sure it becomes a little bit tougher, especially as you move up to micromanage teams. I'm sure it's naturally gotten a little bit easier, but I guess on the coding side, you had mentioned you worked on the engineering team.
Was working on the development team of the projects on those perpetual projects, so managing or being a developer for specific customer projects.
Great. So I guess what made you shift or what motivated you to move into more of a leadership role? Was it tough to pull you away from doing that coding and working on the technical side?
Yes and no. I definitely love the tech part of it, the technical part of it, coding and seeing my code come to life and bringing value to customers and to humans who are using my code. But I love working with people. And as I grew within the company and start taking my first team leadership role, I realized that I'll pull my hands off the code and work a little bit more with people, starting with task management, kind of assigning tasks and managing the queue, but eventually more towards leadership, managing relationship with employees, making sure they are motivated to do the work, they are empowered to do the work, becoming a mentor or a coach in some aspects. So they really see what you're doing and try to imitate, or it motivates them to perform those activities. And as I grew, I really love working with individuals, working with teams. And then the two team grew. So I manage a team of developers and then manage team leaders and then project managers and eventually directors. So we grew a lot, upscale within the organization in terms of leadership roles. This is definitely my favorite part of it, managing, working with employees.
Right now, do you ever still dabble or write code at all just in your free time just for fun? Or is that something that you have completely lost touch with?
No, not yeah, for fun a little bit. We took some directly related to my job now, which is customer success, which is a little bit more commercial. I took a course about negotiation, and then I came back and developed a negotiation simulator using AI for my teams to play and to practice with. Not really much building or writing code anymore. What I do love at least is to stay a little bit closer to the technical challenges. So when we hear our CSMs discussing with customers and learning about some challenges, we don't simply just provide that problem to our product teams or to our engineering teams. We love also to add a little bit value in terms of technical aspects. How would you solve that problem? Still somewhat close to technicality, but not really much open coding.
Do you help oversee or support any of the like technical support team at all, or is it just on the success side?
So we are very much on the customer success, on the trade finance and application support. We are very proud that our support teams are providing not only application support, so how do I do this and how do I do that within the product, but we're also providing trade finance support. Our support team members are all ex-bankers or trade finance experts. That really much is a unique aspect in the way we work because we are able to provide customers value not only in terms of solving the goal, job to be done or the goals that are tried to do within the product, but also provide kind of trade finance consultancy. This is very much unique, but not really.
And you also had mentioned being able to still stay pretty close to customer issues, especially as the customer success reps maybe are talking to customers every day. How do you help shape the product roadmap and make sure it is being prioritized in the right way with so much customer feedback that you're filtering through every day?
So indeed, our CSMs are meeting our customers on a daily basis. That for sure I'm not able to join, but I do join those QBRs, quarterly business reviews. And this is an amazing point in time to have strategic discussions with our customers to learn about their goals, capture their next quarter goals, and we hear about their opportunities for growth, for scale. In addition, our CSMs are also commercially holding the commercial aspects, and they work with the customers to reveal pains and try to solve those challenges within existing capabilities or with hopefully future new capabilities. Then we're able to collect them and feed our product team in terms of, hey, these new features will be great to the product. They will add value to our customers. They will also add revenue to the company. Or we came out of these EBRs or QBRs and we collected that bunch of goals. But in order to suffice them and to help those customers becoming more successful, we may need those features and that capabilities. Just closing the loop, we are also showing those customers using during those QBRs, we're also showing them the future roadmap. And this is also a conversation for feedback to see, does this align with your goals? Is this helping you? Do you see a benefit of that roadmap? And sharing this internally again with our product to shape the product.
And I'm sure it's probably a little bit easier for you to navigate since you have that engineering background. As you're hearing things from customers, would you say it's a lot easier to filter through what's most relevant and I guess what's out of the question in terms of their requests?
The technical background helps to some aspect, but on the other side, our customers are very much trade finance savvy. So the system itself is very unique in the domain it is. It's trade finance domain, which requires good trade finance understanding. So our CSMs are also bankers or trade ex-bankers, and they also need to speak the trade finance language. Therefore, the product roadmap or the product features or the request to line from product perspective, the strategy that leads the customers is not only or not always just techie, but it's also very much trade finance domain specific.
For sure. And I guess we're almost at time here. So just wanted to wrap up with one final question before we go. But I guess throughout your whole time as a customer success leader, is there one moment that you would consider something that you're most particularly proud of or a major team accomplishment? Just curious, it could be just within this past few months or it could be 10 years ago. What would you say is your biggest or proudest accomplishment?
So I want to answer this from two aspects. One within the company, yeah, absolutely. Some things to be proud of, definitely. And this is about the journey we did with the CSMs to move them or to help them move away a little bit from the operational aspects towards commercial aspects. I was just in a conference in Israel a couple of weeks ago where I stood on stage and discussed about that journey of capitalizing the customer success team. And definitely one success story, the huge upsell or an opportunity that we expanded the customer and build the ARR and been able to work with the customer to reveal much more value and to grow within his organization. So our champion even grew and became stronger within the organization story, and we're so proud of it. Another kind of proud moment is not really much within the company. I'm also part of the Israeli Customer Success Executive Forum. So we're a group of CS executives that are sharing knowledge, that are doing meetups and then tackling specific domain or specific items in relevant success, whether it be now AI in the world of customer success or renewals or challenges within the different times like COVID and so on. And part of that, I'm also mentoring quite many CSMs within my country, or not just in the country. And I'm really working with them to either try to uplift them or to help them scale within their organizations or scale their processes or even just landing their next job. So this opens up a whole lot of opportunities for me to meet more people, meet more companies, even in some way impact or help other companies. And that I'm working 19 years within the same company, I'm able through those entities basically shape and help individually, but also the companies they work with. This is something I'm very proud of.
I think that's amazing. And just before we go here, I guess any advice that you would give to maybe someone just starting out in customer success or someone who's maybe been in a few years that's eyeing a leadership role, what would you say is the most important advice you would give them there?
Directly related to my last point, simply go grab a mentor. We have amazing community. The customer success community is amazing globally. Around locally, go grab a mentor. There are great bunch of individuals around the world that are happy to contribute. And I know, in all channels, whether it's through LinkedIn or Facebook or the different companies that provide closed forums or mentoring and so on, you'll be able to find it. If you'll simply look for it, you'll find a mentor and go.
That's great. Jor, it was great having you on today. I really appreciated you joining in, and I think that we had some great talking points here that the audience will enjoy hearing. Appreciate you joining in, and hopefully we'll talk again soon. Thanks so much.